Okay, part two, the law of magnetism, the principles of how to become and sustain being a magnet for our dreams, desires, and passions. And in that, I want to say we want it to be as effortless, free, easy breezy as possible. So that's the whole thing. And we want it to become, once we set that intention, which is a conscious act, and then we then have the vibrations being sent out, and it's then becomes unconscious to us, and it's in that unconscious realm that it ends up showing up. So this part two, it's interesting because my little 5-pound purse chihuahua barked in the background. This is like reality podcasting. But it occurred to me, Suzanne, that she is one of my other magical manifestations from a mere thought. And that's a real life example. And I will share that story because we're on to something right now. But her barking was like, Mommy, don't forget to tell them about how I got to you.
Oh.
Yeah, and so it just occurred to me that at first I'm like, oh no, don't interrupt me. I'm in flow. I'm in process. I'm recording a podcast.
Right.
And then it occurred to me also that I didn't even think to mention there's so many that I've done. Like I could go on and on for days about what I've manifest, how it all came into play. But she's one of the biggest ones from nothing. And I mean nothing. And she was dropped off. She was actually dropped off uh, right to my ranch and handed to me. And not only was she handed to me, she was exactly perfect. And the big thing is she's a black and white Chihuahua, not, the typical tan ones. And she matches my hair, and black is my color. So that's what's so fascinating. And she's absolutely stunningly gorgeous for a Chihuahua.
And she's friendly.
And she's friendly and loving and like a baby. But I am very particular about the things I manifest, and I have a very particular look that I'm looking for. And she fits the mold perfectly. So it's so interesting. So you got to be specific. But back to the matter at hand. In our last episode, because now it's going to be in parts, so you got to stay tuned if you want to hear the good stuff, and I'm going to make people wait. Yeah. But you don't wait, Suzanne. And the reason why you're here with me is because, first of all, you're an amazing human being, but you are very smart. You've been following me, you are a fan, and now you're becoming a friend. And so that's why you are here and are the recipient of this podcast because and which is one of my favorite subjects because I'm a master at this now, doing it my whole life. So that said, where we left off in our last episode was we're talking about your question, right? When you're too smart for your own good and too analytical.
Yes, and how to get over that hurdle.
Mm-hmm. Because
Yes.
it's that analytical mind that will stop us from the power of manifesting unconsciously because that analytical mind, that logical mind is waiting for the evidence and the facts to show
Yes.
up. In other words, most human beings function like this. Show me the evidence and then I will believe and have blind faith.
Mm-hmm.
Show me first and then I'll believe.
Mm-hmm.
And that is exactly how it doesn't work. And by the way, that's frustrating, exhausting. There's too much stress and emotional wear and tear that comes with that. Is frankly, I don't really, I'm not going to lie. I know what I'm good at. I know what I want to do, but the last thing I want to do before I'm dead is worry and like go, where's the evidence? Where's the evidence? I'll believe. Where's the evidence? Where's the evidence? Then I'll believe. No, I just want to like believe. I don't care about evidence. And then poof, have my life, no stress, no attachments, no expectations. And then bing, drop off at my door like my little purse dog. Then my miniature horse was dropped off. My gorgeous purebred Arabian mare, right? Dropped off at my door. I didn't even have to be here. It was trailered up. I didn't even live on my ranch at the time. Boom, walk out to my pasture, and there's this gorgeous Barbie doll Arabian that I've been dreaming of was on my vision board, and there she is. I didn't have to holler. I didn't have to pay anything. Dropped off. Frankly, that's how I want to run my life. But if people want to be attached to the evidence first and like having to prove that it's true, do you feel that energy? It's like a drain. No thanks. I'm good. I'm not doing that.
And that is another thing that I'm just going to touch on, and you can address later, is what I've been fascinated by is that I'm going to call it the universe, source, whatever, has offered you at different times something similar to something you've wanted, and you just simply say, no, thanks. And then it still comes around, instead of saying, okay, I'll settle for something that is really, really similar, then you just hold to your original dream, your thought, your desire, and trust that what you want will come. And when the universe says come around a second time with, okay, this is better than my first offer, you still are willing to say thanks, but no thanks. And I think that takes a lot of guts and courage, and you're teaching me that. And I'm just going to touch on a couple of other big things: your dog, your horse, your donkey, your black stallion, your ranch, your vehicles. The thing that I've been fascinated by in learning and knowing about you is this really, for people listening, like, this happens all the time. And that is why when she won the Tub of Love, I was like, oh my gosh, this is another very specific example. And this is what we need to have to learn. And so that is why I get to be on here with you and encourage your sharing, because it's so important, because you're a master at it. So go ahead, share
Yeah, and that was excellent. So sidebar that specific topic, Suzanne. Like, make the note of that one, of where I never settle.
Yep.
I never settle. Okay, so I definitely want to do that. That excites me. I also want to then come back to, I have manifested from nothing, like magic, dropped off, delivered, hand painted artwork, jewelry, clothing, vehicles, trips to Vegas, flown for the night to Vegas, paid for trip, and then I come back. So many things. Let's see, relationships. Listen, don't even get, that's a whole nother series of podcasts. Men and relationships. Oh my God. Okay, so that goes on. What else is there in life? I mean, things, people, situations, careers. Oh, my TV show pitch. Okay, just had a TV show pitch for the Discovery Channel, which I never really talked about. I didn't even put it, I didn't have time. There's too many things. So what we're saying is, in every aspect of my life, I continue to manifest one thing after another, specific, like absolutely specifically to the image I have etched in my mind. It has to be that, or I don't want it. So this Barbie doll horse, when you see the picture on the vision board and this horse, you're like, oh my God, that's the same horse. It can't be, it cannot even be like a slight replica. It has to be the exact thing that I'm looking for.
Yeah, and that part is just it's magic.
Yeah, it's magic. Pass. I will pass and keep passing until it fits. But usually, because I'm so specific, it actually, the first time around, it'll track. There's also, again, there's also things I wasn't specific about, and then I did not get it.
Okay? Interesting.
Yes. So it goes both ways, people. It goes both ways. When you set the intention and you're not specific, it's not going to be fulfilled. But if you're specific and you know exactly what you want, it will be fulfilled upon. But it's not really going to ever happen if you're too analytical and you're expecting the evidence first. You know what? Shut this podcast down. I am not the person for you. Don't even waste your time listening. That is the number one absolute must, prerequisite, requirement for the law of manifestation. And a magnetism. My word is really magnetism, becoming a magnet, okay? Is if you don't have that, then you're wasting your time, and you will have more emotional wear and tear trying to believe in something that you really don't believe in. So don't waste your time. Just live your life the way you're living it and be happy about that and move on. Right? Do you understand?
Yeah.
That is huge.
Huge.
Huge, huge, huge. Okay, so we're back to, and we're spending time on this because this is the biggest obstacle for people. If by default human beings are looking for the evidence first, then it's a problem in the world. Can you see this with human beings?
Yes.
It is by default we need the evidence. The brain has to attach itself, associate with objective reality, tangible reality. Okay? And so we don't even have to try for it. The brain will do that for survival purposes. For survival purposes. So this is very important. So that, for a quick example, is, the brain needs to feel, touch, hear, see fire as whether good or bad. To make the association, to say, oh, fire dangerous, going to kill me, or fire in fireplace, romantic and beautiful and soothing. But it has to have the evidence of the fire, right? To then go, oh, good or bad. As opposed to believing, right, there's no fire, I want a fire. And the next thing you know, someone comes over with one of those Duraflame logs and a thing and a lighter and goes, hey, let's have a drink by the fire. And they plop down they put it there in the fireplace and they light it up. And you're like, wait, where'd you even come from? Where did that fire even come from? It's like, oh, I'd love to have a fire. And next thing your friend calls you up and says, hey, what doesn't it sound cool? It's like really cold out. Let's build a fire, have some drinks and talk. And you're like, what? Okay, so that's why it's so important, that tangible reality. But it also messes us up in the realm of transformation, consciousness, and self-evolution, and based on the law of attraction and what I call the law of magnetism. So that said, here's what happened for me, is that I still wasn't believing. I was one of those people hardcore who wanted the evidence and had to have the evidence, in general. But there was also this part of me that was very dreamy, very like, ooh, I believe for no reason. I did have that since I was a little girl, but I overrid it with the need to be smart and analytical. So if I look back, I actually was that way. Okay, sorry, that's my little dog, and he is in his little kennel, and he's not happy. So he's just going to have to, tough love here. I just gave him yummy food, and now he's like, Mama, I want to come out. And I'm saying, no, Jaxie, I'm recording. So you got to stay in your little cage, and then he's going to quiet. So that's what you're hearing in the background, is he's got to be there, and then he's got to figure out that I'm working to pay for his expensive food. Right? Actually, I'm not getting paid for this. This is a free podcast. However, when I say I'm working, it's always about giving back first, is being a contribution. And then that's also, by the way, is a great way to be a powerful magnet, is to be of service.
That's part of the story, part of it.
Yes, it is. So here I was.
To go to when you went and you took the course that
Yeah. So that was irrelevant. What's relevant is that I still needed evidence. I still wasn't believing. I still couldn't make the connections as to, I'm miserable. How do I, transform this? You see, I wasn't pliable. I wasn't suggestible. I was still closed-minded. I was still stuck in my old patterns, in my old ways. And that's what happens with the analytical mind. You get stuck in your old ways. And then you become hardwired into it early on from childhood. And do you understand? This is when people say, oh, they're stubborn, they're pig-headed, they'll never change. You can't teach an old dog new tricks. This is exactly why.
Okay.
Is I was set in my old ways, and I didn't know how to shift it. And nobody could tell me. Very few people know how to shift it, so I had to figure it out. And I'm just about to say how I'm going to figure it out. Is what I'm going to say is, all right, if he yaps one more time, if he keeps doing it, it distracts me. So he usually is a good boy. Can you hear that, Suzanne?
I can, yes. It's such a little squeak. It doesn't even sound like a dog. It sounds like a squeaky toy.
All right, so sometimes he's a very good boy. All right,
Right now, he's in need.
Okay. So, all right. So while I'm gonna go let him out because I'm attached to the computer. So what I'm gonna do is, Suzanne, just go ahead and reframe from the last episode, right? Would you please then uh, go over again where we're up to
Yes.
and what I'm addressing next, okay? And I'm gonna let him out, and he'll probably just calm down. Okay. Go ahead.
Sure.
Okay.
Okay. So what I have so enjoyed about so far with Karen is she's leading us through the biggest hurdle that's been in my life is the believing factor. And sometimes we need to surround ourselves, my belief is we need to surround ourselves with people that are doing and creating a life that we also desire. And then going to them and saying, what is your, we ask, what's your secret? What's your tip? What's your magic? And I've been blessed to be in conversation with Karen to know that she is somebody who has mastered this. She did it unconsciously, as my understanding. So this is my words. She did it very unconsciously for much of her life, and then got into an area of life that was struggle and losing a sister, losing hope. And I think that is very relatable to many of us. And I have been in that space, and she's very aware of that. And so my desire has been, how do you get out of that funk? And how do you go back into magic? And sometimes what I believe happens is things that we do effortlessly, we don't know how we did it when we were kids or younger. We come into adult time of struggle and we lose that. And then we can't figure it out how, okay, where do we lose that magic and how do we get it again? And I've been in that place. And so in knowing Karen has led that same life, it's not been without struggle. I appreciate that about her. It's not been where she hasn't lost hope, but she had full confidence that she has had the ability, and then working back into her own self. And that is what I see the beauty. It's not that I have to become something else or somebody else. It is remembering what we know, and it's the subconscious that Karen taps into. And so at a deeper level, that is what you get with her coaching, is that she can tap in personally one-on-one. She just is like, okay, stop, I got it. That's what she'll do. I'll be telling a story. Here's what's the struggle is. She's like, I got it. And so she goes right, taps into the subconscious that is stopping me, recognizes, and it helps me understand it. And so in what she's blessing us with today is the free podcast to let us know, here's how she came back into knowing the steps to manifest and to be magic again. And I just am watching it in her life. And I'm like, Karen, again, with the tub of love, I just saw it so clearly. It's the steps of the giving first. It's the step of people helping, coming into her then to help her. So those are there are steps that came with this that were so clear to me that I was like, Karen, we need to have a podcast and teach. And she's so gracious to then know part of the power of it is to give first, and then the rest comes. So I'm going to leave it there. Where we were is to a course, and that's where we had left off on podcast 1. You attended a course.
Yeah. So it wasn't working. It still wasn't working. So this is where people go and study things, and they go to the motivational seminars, and and it's still not working. Okay, and so I was just frustrated, and I had to feel the pain for longer. That was vital. is that I kept saying, I don't get it. Why is my life still not working? Why is it not happening? And the worst part is, I was a manifester. I was a magnetic force my entire life. And I lost touch with that. And so it wasn't working. Even more frustrating. It's one thing to never had been that and then train for it, as opposed to being that and it's gone. Right? I lost it. I lost my mojo.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so this is what had me get out of my analytical mind and out of my intellect and into my beliefs and my faith. Here it is. Excuse me. I will never forget this moment. I'd been talking to a friend on the phone, pacing in my living room in my condo in West Los Angeles, and I said, you know what? I'm not happy. Same complaints. I heard myself speaking the same things, right? Just 3 or 4 months prior. Same conversation. I don't know if this is responsibility. I don't understand. I was too set in my ways. And then all of a sudden, I don't know what was said, but I all of a sudden thought to myself, okay, wait a second. I am fearing moving forward. I'm in fear of the unknown. That's what's stopping me from believing. Is I was still looking for the evidence, Suzanne. I still wanted evidence first. And then I said, no, don't focus on what's in front of you out there and the unknown part. Look backwards. So it was the moment I said, oh my God, there is no way I want to continue living the life that I had been living. And it was a life of unhappiness, unfulfillment, no meaning, no purpose. Been searching for a purpose since I was a child. I was hugely successful. I had everything still manifesting. The money, the success, the real estate career, the marriage proposals, the men, all the men, that I wanted to be in a relationship with, the clothes, the this, the that. Everything came, but I was never, ever happy. It was just a substitute for all the deep-seated unconscious pain and anguish that I felt about myself and about my life. And so at this point, coming out of a suicide attempt, my sister dying, killing herself, and I couldn't help her, the grief and the torment, I said, okay, I have a choice. And I call it the pain principle. Is I finally realized that the pain of living the life I had been living, waiting for the evidence first, never worked and has never worked to that point in my life. That's what woke me up. That's what had me go, oh my God, I would rather be dead than continuing to live the same patterns the same way and feeling the same way as awful and miserable. A victim, a martyr, poor me, I'm not good enough, I hate myself, all of that.
Mm-hmm.
I said, there's no way. And then I realized, oh my gosh, the pain was greater staying where I was and not staying open to the unfamiliar, the unknown. Okay, the pain of staying where I was far outweighed at this point the pain of me venturing into the unfamiliar and the unknown. Yes. And it has to be that way, and absolutely believe, because I've lived it, I coach it, I see it time and time again. You got to weigh that pain. You got to weigh the pain of living in life the way you've been living it, expecting results first, and then having faith and happiness and belief. Okay? You have to weigh that pain versus the fear of the unknown, the fear of not knowing. Okay? You got to be willing to take risks and not be attached to the results. You can't have zero expectation, zero attachments, expect nothing. It may not work. So, and that's scary. Most people, there's no way they'd even do that. But here's the next piece. The thing that I knew was that if I didn't take a chance, because of the way the brain works, my life would be exactly the same or close to, because the human brain by default predicts based on only our past belief systems and patterns and behaviors, it will absolutely just follow suit in the now and in our future. In other words, if you're hardwired in early on, and it's basically done by the age of 8 and under, okay? 8 and under, boom. It's set in stone. And I can prove it over and over and over again. So there it is, boom. If we're hardwired into that, then basically I only work with clients, I don't care how old you are, 19 years old, about 19 years old and under is the only thing I'm concerned about. It's 8 and under for the fundamental operating system. And then from 9 to about 19, it's just the practice of it, which isn't this interesting? I just thought of this. From 9 to 19 is about 10 years. It takes about 10 years in real time to master any one thing. 10,000 hours of mastery, 10,000 hours of practice to mastery. And isn't that interesting? From 9 to 19 is 10 years. That's about, in real life, 10 years of practicing something to master it. Whoa. So that's what ends up happening, and there we are. 19 years old and under, set in stone, boom. I can predict, knowing what's happened to you 19 years old and under, predominantly 8 years old and under, I will predict your life. I will show you and back it up with evidence that it's exactly the same program you've been running, and everything that you physically have manifested has shown up identical, nearly identical to your belief systems.
I believe that.
Yep. So I had to say, if that's the case, based on brain science, that my life is predictable, and the predictable life that I'd been living was god awful, like pathetic, because I still wasn't happy, okay, then I must be willing to stay open and risk the pain of the unfamiliar, the unknown, not knowing, because then at least I'll have a chance of it working. And I was willing to take the risk and the chance by understanding the powerful brain's mechanism to predict our now and future. You understand this?
I do.
As the human brain, again, by default, is designed to predict for survival purposes. In other words, it can, at 1/500th of a second up to 7 seconds, know what's going to happen unconsciously before you have any conscious awareness of it. And we have to have that in order to survive. In other words, this is that mechanism that has you slam on the brakes so fast, you can't even explain how fast that was, to save your life from getting in a car accident. If we didn't have this, we'd all be dead. People would be dying by the tens of thousands every single day. Like, how many times have you been driving, Suzanne, you slam on your brakes so fast, you're like, oh, near miss. Oh, near miss. That's the brain's ability to predict before we have any conscious awareness. And you can't even explain how you slam down the brakes. Because consciously you're, drinking your coffee in the car, listening to music, talking on the phone with your headset, right? And then all of a sudden, bam, you slam on the brake and you're like, oh my God, I just almost got hit.
Yep.
And that's that powerful mechanism of the brain. Yes.
Yep.
So, I had to put all the pieces of the puzzle together to understand. The neuroscience aspect of it was working against me. So here's the other important component of this. The brain's emotional center is the fear mechanism, the amygdala, and the small little almond-shaped thing in the base of the brain. That is our fight, flight, freeze mechanism for survival. It's the fear-based mechanism, or the fear detector. The one thing, the fastest thing that will trigger fear is, guess what? The unknown, the unfamiliar. And that's why most people will shut down, even if they consciously are like, I'm good. And I hear this all the time. I'm good with the unfamiliar. I'm a risk taker. They'll say that consciously, but then I ask them the questions, really, what physical risks in your objective reality have you taken in the last 3 years? and then they have no evidence.
Aha.
Because they consciously say something, but subconsciously and unconsciously they're scared out of their mind and they're not doing it. And then they keep, and so I talk to people over and over and over again. And they say, yeah, I know, I'm going to have my own business. I'm going to be an entrepreneur. I'm going to make a lot of money. I'm going to have the love of my life. I'm going to have, and I say, okay, that's great. I talk to them, no joke, 6 months later, 9 months later, 12 months later, 2 years later, 3 years later, 4 years later, and they're virtually in the same place. And that frightens me because that was me. The only reason why I know this, I'm not so great. Here's the disclaimer. All my work is based on my own personal experiences. And if that's not enough for you, I'm not your person to listen to. But everything I teach, preach, and practice first, is from my own experiences because it works. And that's the best way to rewire the brain through experience. And that's the way I love to learn. I love to do it first because I find that when I do it, I become better and greater at it fastest. And I'm on the fast track. Okay? So this is all vitally important. So people yap at me consciously, that, subconsciously, unconsciously, never going to happen. Never. Unless they get that handled. All right, so I'll even say barely will ever happen. Unless you align the unconscious with the subconscious with the conscious mind, it's going to be really a struggle. And it's not fun, and it's not like a happy place. That's what I really believe.
Okay. Yes.
Okay?
Yep.
And some people are great at it. They're survival people. So I don't want to put those people down in that if that's enough for them, that's great. Who am I to judge? But don't sit there and tell me consciously you want something and it ain't happening 3 years later. Even, you know what? Not even 6 months later. Especially if I talk to you, I will tell you the deal. I will give you all the answers up front for free. And then 3, 6, 9 months, still the same. I love you, but I'm not going to hang out with you. And I don't really want to hear it. I got to move on and be available to the people who do want to hear it and who want to train for it. Does that make sense, Suzanne? And I'm speaking, yeah, go ahead.
Yes, and I think that is a huge word that you just use, which is train. Because it is like working out. It's you're going to have the trial and error and the pain of soreness when you go work out, and you don't see results like the very first time you work out. In your case, and with the subconscious mind, the way it works, sometimes that can happen. But I think it is training. And I think that also when you have a training, people see the quickest results hire a personal trainer. Because they see things that we cannot see that we're doing. It's a swag in our back, or it's not putting our feet correctly. They can see the things that are working against us. And the value of having a personal trainer in training is the same as having a personal trainer in training our mind, training our unconscious. Because what I've learned from you is that I think I'm working on things, and I think that I'm trying to be different or think different, and you catch when I'm not. You're like, no, Suzanne, that is not here's what you're running again. Here's this program. And I love that you use the mind as a program, because it's like having software that was installed and we need to update it. And it just does take some practice, work, training in order to really shift. And I know that you've put in hours of training in order to master your craft, master your magnetism in your own life, but then master it so that you can pass this on. And that is something that I really, truly appreciate about you, is that you work at this. You're doing this. You're not just being like, yeah, here's what I did and here was my success. You are still doing it. That's the cool part.
Okay. And I want to say, not hours. We're talking decades.
Yes.
I came into this world questioning the meaning of life, right? And I have to say, so interesting you say that. Now, to be at this level, it is an every single day phenomenon. No joke. And it is training, right? And it means massive sacrifice. Okay? So this is at no small price or cost, but the rewards are infinite. So then that's where we have to, again, look at the pros and cons of it. So I like to use Olympic athletes as examples, right? As if you talk to Michael Phelps, he was, because I read about it, he was training 7 days a week for decades. It wasn't until his third Olympics that he became Michael Phelps to everybody and won all those gold medals. 3 Olympics. How many years is that? 3 times 4. 12 years. He's 23 years old. He started swimming at 7. Let's do the math, people. Right? And I'm so passionate. But here's the weirdest thing, Suzanne. I love that you brought this up. So brilliant, Suzanne. And I love that you're so open and pliable. This is what it takes, is that you're open, even though you are the analytical, logical, intelligent mind. Right? You're smart enough to know to be open. So I just felt called. Never have I ever pulled up Serena Williams and read anything about her. Never called to. Just recently, something sparked me after this last event that I attended, and I pick up just one video, and here's the quote that she said, and I wrote it down, which I'll be posting, but it's so applicable. So Serena Williams says, and I quote, I have been training every day for 30 years. And then that's not her quote. She said, training every day for 30 years is difficult. Period. Right? You're like, amen, girlfriend. Okay. And I was like, 30 years? Wait, how old are you? I don't know when the video was. I don't even know how old she is today. But I'm at 30 years. Wait, every day for 30 years? Serena, how old are you now? I don't know. But that's a long time. That's 3 decades. She goes, I wake up sore every day. Every day I'm sore. Which I'm going to say, Suzanne, I am too. I'm sore in the neck from being on the computer. This is what it takes, people, is training and soreness and uncomfortableness. The unfamiliar, the unknown all the time. Uncomfortable, 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 right? But here's the thing that got me. I love when she says this. There are times she doesn't want to do it. She doesn't want to work out. She doesn't want to train. She goes, there are obviously days I don't feel like training, but there's no day that goes by that I feel like losing.
Bam. Just say it again for me, because that just gave me goosebumps. Just for me. Say it again, please.
Yeah. Serena Williams says, there's obviously days I don't feel like training, but there's no day that goes by that I feel like losing.
Wow.
Okay? And that's what drives people like me and her. I train like a banshee. I make massive sacrifices. I don't go out in public very much. I don't attend event. I don't go and socialize, and I don't like very many things that are trivial, and I don't do things that don't serve my grander purpose and raison d'etre, which is my reason for being. Not going to lie. You know this about me, Suzanne, but a lot of people don't know this about me. Right? Is that it's very rare that I'll go and do something that has nothing to do with my purpose and calling in life. I don't just
That's
go. I'm always training.
Yes. And you're working. Every time that I talk to you, you are doing some form of your work. It's amazing.
Well, and I'm always learning. This is called neuroplasticity. Neuroplasticity is the brain's ability to continue growing. And the only way to keep your brain healthy is to venture out and live in the unknown and the unfamiliar. So that means I'm on the computer learning the back end of my website, which I never ever wanted to do. I never even wanted to sit down. I never even wanted to be on Facebook. I hired a company, paid thousands of dollars to start my Facebook. I now do it, but again, somebody will manage it because I won't have time. But I am now learning how to program, and I have learned how to program my own and develop my own website enough to where I can hire the right person. I know how to do things that I resisted for a long time, and the only reason I'm able to do it is because I know this information that the brain is capable of doing everything and anything beyond the supernatural. And so I have to tell myself, because it's not easy. I tell myself, Karen, this is neuroplasticity. It keeps your brain growing. It's healthy. And every time you learn something new, it will stimulate you and get you to the next level of opportunity. Like so much magic happens out of keeping my brain stimulated and learning these things. Okay? And so I have to. It's either time or money, but I also want to know how to do it. So because I've paid out lots of money to people who never fulfilled upon their promise, and I could do a better job than they could.
Yep.
So that's why I have to keep training. And yes, I make massive sacrifices. Like people invite me to a party, to this, to that. And I'm like, no, 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 no. Okay?
Yep.
And the only one who could get me to do something for no reason would be that very special, my soulmate, my beloved, my soulmate, the man of my dreams. Right? That's the only person that can do that and say, hey, you want to go watch a basketball game? I hate basketball.
You know, bet you'd go.
I would go. Right? And that's the only time I'll do it. So he has that special privilege. But other than that, no thanks. I'm good. Nope. Go without me, go without me, go without me.
Well, you've told me, how long has it been since you've even taken a vacation? Not that you haven't had the means, but you have chosen to not vacation even.
Yeah, I don't take vacations ever. I never go. I only travel for work and business and purpose and it because it is part of my mission. But no, I probably took only one vacation my whole life. And you know what's so funny? It's interesting, and this is where it came from. I actually told my dad I was going to Hawaii, and he goes, "What are you doing that for?" Well, there it is. That's why I'm the way I am. You know, I'm a bona fide recovering workaholic and perfectionist overachiever. No, I don't. I won't just go and lay around the pool. And as a matter of fact, it's interesting because I went on that vacation and I never sat by the pool. I kept going. I didn't even sleep. I went catamaraning, horseback riding. I did the exact same thing on a vacation. My poor friend, she couldn't even keep up with me. She was. Yep. I said, I'm going catamaraning. Are you coming or not? She's like, what? Oh no, I'm too tired. I'm like, all right, I'm going without you. Bam. She's like, all right, I'm coming. It was the worst nightmare for her because I was absolutely crazy. I mean, I did it exactly like my work. I did the exact same thing. So vacation, I'm not saying don't take a vacation. And I choose not to take a vacation because it doesn't make me happy. It doesn't fulfill my heart and soul. But if you like a vacation, again, go on vacation. What I'm saying is, for me, because there's only so much time in our lifetime this time around in the physical human form, I would prefer to choose spending my time doing something that makes me happy, stimulates my brain, and gets me closer to my ultimate purpose and mission in life. So that's just me. Not for everybody. And by the way, I'm not going to lie, I don't suggest it because it comes with a whole set of other things, right? It's not for everybody. But I am saying this is what it takes. It does take persistence, determination, self-generated motivation and inspiration. It takes really delving in, and above all, it takes understanding the human mind, the human psyche. Okay? Yep. And I just want to make sure that if we want the hugest, most spectacular life ever, then it does require everything that I'm saying. I firmly believe that. And talk to any athlete. I mean, I'm like, wait, aren't you only 30 years old? I was doing the math for Serena. I'm thinking to myself, wait, aren't you only 30? So wait, You're 30, so that means you know, in utero, you were already training.
I think she's older than
I
30 though.
know that. Then I talked to you, and you're like, I think she's 35, so that makes sense. She started playing tennis at 5. I started riding horses at 7. Now athletes start at 2 and 3, so that would make sense. So she's in her early 30s. So I was like, oh my god. And then here's what it did. It had me say to myself, oh yay, I'm on the right track. Oh yay, I'm not the only one. Oh yay, keep
Mm-hmm.
doing what you're doing, Karen. And this is why, again, I won the tub of love. I will talk about that more when I do that separate episode about how I won the tub of love, the mindset behind winning the tub of love. That's
And can I
my
just
next
tell
topic.
them so that they know what that is, just a tad bit,
I
so
already
that they.
told them. It's just this networking event that I go to based on Greg Reed's Secret Knock. And then there's this whole huge bonus grand prize where people donate all their services and you get all these really cool stuff. And it's like just a prize you win at a networking event called Secret Knock, one of the best. It's like where you have some of the most innovative, incredible philanthropic people. So that's what that is, okay? And that's whether here nor there, because this we want to stay focused on manifesting whatever. But the only reason it has to apply to the content. But back to the matter at hand, making sure this is clear, right, Suzanne, is that I had to say that it's less painful for me to risk being and living in the unknown and the unfamiliar, knowing that my fear mechanism is going to get triggered, and I know now how to override that consciously.
Mm-hmm.
My pain principle, the pain of doing what we're doing must outweigh even just a little bit the pain of taking risks and venturing out into the unknown. That's what that pain principle
And so
is.
that's how you address the fear. You're weighing it, because I think that is another big issue, is the fear. And again, it's the key that you're unlocking here.
Mm-hmm.
So I hope that people just got that key, because sometimes Karen's full of information. So
Yeah, so
I'm
this
going to
fear.
reiterate that
Yeah.
is the
Mm-hmm.
value, because I'm gonna claim that this has been in my life. It is the fear, and when the fear comes up, it is fight, flight, freeze,
Mm-hmm.
and my reaction often is freeze.
Mm-hmm.
And it can be for a long time, because as I look, then I say, oh no, I have that fear, so I freeze. And so what I'm hearing you say is, when you have a fear come up in your life, or when I have fear come up in my life, what I need to do is say, here's the weight, that is the cost of letting this fear freeze me,
Mm-hmm.
versus the fear of the unknown and stepping forward. That's the key to addressing fear. Is that what I'm getting correct?
Yes, that's part of it. Just know that
Okay.
the human brain is idling at fear at all times for survival purposes. So it's only the conscious mind that can override that. So we have to then factor in everything in front of us,
Okay.
right? And everything I'm teaching. So the fear is the number one. It is the thing that will kill off our dreams and our desires, our passions. And so, but here's the problem. The brain doesn't know the difference between the fear of being murdered and the fear of dating for the first time after a third divorce, or the fear of dating again after your spouse dies, or the fear of riding a roller coaster or skydiving for the first time. So that's a problem. So when it comes to going for our dreams and desires, becoming an entrepreneur, opening a new business, going for the love of our life, even losing weight and getting our dream body, okay, the fear will never show up as blatant fear. It will show up as symptomatic: procrastination, freezing. Freezing is a symptom of fear.
Mm-hmm.
And so again, this is a whole nother series of podcasts, because it's a huge thing. But this is about manifesting. So if that fear is in
Yes.
play, then it's going to get in the way of that high vibration to have things come toward us. So let's see. So you have to be willing to dream and believe and have blind faith. You have to, number 2, understand the fear mechanism.
Mm-hmm.
The fear mechanism will shut us down. And the only way to override it is everything I just shared, is the
Yes.
fear of the unknown, being willing to take risks. So the next thing is, people are afraid because they're afraid to fail. They're afraid to feel like a loser and a failure. They're afraid to look bad. And they're afraid of criticism and judgment. The biggest, according to Napoleon Hill, and Think and Grow Rich, is that it's really the fear of criticism is probably like tied number one, biggest fear. The fear of caring what other people think. And then the fear of people putting us down and judging us and not liking us, let alone loving us. Okay? Caring what other people think. And so that is huge. This is what will shut people down. They're not going to take the risk because they're afraid of embarrassment, humiliation, shame. Okay? And this is, so we have to be able to understand fear, then friend fear. Hashtag friend fear. Make fear your friend. In other words, make risking your friend. Take risk, be willing to fail. And I actually say be willing to F up. Be willing to F up. And if you're not willing to do that, that's going to, well, there you go. Not working, and it won't work. And here's the proof. Stand where you are, look backwards without any judgment or criticism or shame or humiliation or regret, and see if your life is working to the degree in which you desire consciously. That's all you got to do. So, for instance, I was looking backwards at that point that I'll never forget, and I said, I don't want to do real estate anymore. I'm not happy in real estate. I don't work out anymore. I'm not exercising. I'm not even dancing. That, like, for me not to dance, then you know something's seriously wrong. Okay? I had to look. I have no money coming in. I'm broke. I'm almost losing everything that I have. My ranch, my horses, my real estate, my condo. And there was no relationship. I'm like, oh, I don't know. Oh, yeah, I remember. I was like dating men and then next. That's what I was doing there. So there's no special love of my life either. So I was alone, essentially. And then I was just miserable. I was just completely and utterly miserable. Depressed. I was in depression, which is symptomatic. So without judging, I was looking backwards going, oh, okay, you know what? No, I can talk all I want, yappity yap, but in my reality, it wasn't working. And I had to face the facts, if you will. You see that?
Yes.
And so then I said, oh, okay, then I'm willing to take the risk into the unknown, and I know how to override it. And I'm just going to keep going. And then what happened was I re-presence every time I've ever taken a risk. And that's what helped me.
What does that mean, re-presence?
That means I had to look at my life. I was able, so once the brain is triggered into fear and it idles unconsciously or invisibly into fear, it cancels out. It actually stops our brain from being able to be rational and logical. So then fear kills off our rationale. Meaning, when we're in fear, we forget how brilliant we were. Early on. We forget what we created from nothing. So there I was standing there, and I forgot that I manifested my ranch from nothing and no money in the bank. That's all I'm going to say there. Another podcast. Okay? I forgot that I've manifested what? How many horses? 12 horses now? And 2 donkeys and sheep and goats. I forgot that I had an opportunity to do this, to have a TV show, to do this. I forgot all the things. Oh, here's my biggest one. I forgot that I created this business that I'm doing now in 2011 at the height of a recession, right? During a recession, from nothing. From nothing. And I never said I'm going to be a coach. Never. I never said I'm going to be a life coach. I want to be a life coach. I'm going to go get certified and be a life. No, never. As a matter of fact, it came to me. My purpose came to me. I magnetized my purpose. I magnetized this business. This is my 3rd business as an entrepreneur. That's what I'm talking about. Okay? Is that it all came to me. So, here we are, because there's so many points, Suzanne.
I know.
I know. So we're going to say, because again, to be a powerful magnet, here are the fundamental basics. Number 1, you have to be willing to dream for no reason and be open to believing with blind faith and with no evidence. You have to understand the mechanics of fear and, right, understanding that the only thing we're really fearing is fearing failure, fearing criticism, fearing that it's not going to work. Well, the reality is, if you live in the fear of it not working, it's not a fear in front of you, it's a right now phenomenon happening already. Most people fear that what people think of them. Well, guess what? There are many people out there who don't like you. Already happening. Fear you're going to fail, you're already failing.
Part of my love for you is just straight up, girl. Mm-hmm. Tell it. Uh-huh.
Yep. Yeah. Uh-huh. Okay? You're fearing that's not going to work? Well, don't fear it. False evidence appearing real. It's already happening. It's in your reality. It's not happening. You're not getting what you want. Oh, I fear what? I fear like feeling worthless. What do you mean you fear feeling worthless? You think you're worthless right now. You just told me so. Like, this is what people, I mean, this is all based on case study. Uh-huh. I'm going to fear like I'm fearing that my mother's going to die of alcoholism. What do you mean fearing? She's dying now of alcoholism. Boom. That's a real true story too, based on my actual client. And I didn't say, I said it, of course, much nicer, but I had, I know, but, you know, I know, I say it because thank God for my comedianship. She was in fear. She was in fear that if she said something to her mother about the alcoholism, her mother would kill herself with alcohol. And it was that pivotal moment that I had to really understand that it was already in her reality that her mother was slowly killing herself with the alcohol. And that if she didn't say something, it would be inevitable that she would die of alcoholism. And I'm going to tell you, people, cut to this day, guess what? She is no longer an alcoholic, her mother. This is my actual client in real time. She has transformed not only her own life from a devastating upbringing, but she has now sourced her mother not drinking, zero. And her mother's been drinking for almost 60 years.
Wow.
50, 60 years, yeah. We don't know exactly when she started, but she's started very young. Okay? So this stuff works. And I have, again, guess what? And not believing that I needed evidence, I created all the evidence to prove it.
Oh.
Uh-huh. And everything I have is documented. Everything. Video, recordings, audio, it's all documented. So no one can ever challenge me because I have all the evidence to prove it. Now, and the testimonials and the people in a court of law will get up on the stand and over again tell you that they've lived it, right? And that they've experienced it, and it was basically solely all my coaching. And they've been to many therapists over and over again. They've done many healing modalities, read almost every book. My clients are often very smarter than me. They go and read so many books. I don't have time to read all those books. But I do have a gift. Like, I do have a special knowing and intuition that I rely upon. So, okay, so here we are, right? There's that fear part. So what else do we need to be a magnet? We need this connection to self that's so profound. And it's our ability to trust ourselves even if nobody trusts us. Even if everyone thinks we're crazy. That's a huge thing, which falls under the category of fear of criticism by others. In other words, we have to keep believing even if other people think we're crazy.
That's huge.
And only surround yourself with those who are like-minded, like-energy, like-hearted, like-souled. Or it's going to be very difficult. I'm not saying cut everybody out that's not with you. I'm just saying don't hang out with them for too long and hold them accountable and shut them down if they're not in alignment. There's no way.
Give an example of that.
Oh, yeah. Here's a great one. My mother. My mother is the biggest naysayer. I call her Negative Nelly. You know, Debbie Downer. Okay? And she's been my arch nemesis my entire life. And she's always looking at the dark side. And she's always telling me the negative crap. And then she's addicted to the news. And it just is tearing her soul apart. And I tell her, don't listen to the news. But here's the thing. I love my mother. Don't get me wrong. Which, by the way, this training and transformation now connected me back to my mother, whom I've hated my entire life. Okay? So, I'm going to say now, but this has been years now since I started this work in 2009, I hold her accountable and I tell her straight up, I don't want to hear it. If you have nothing positive to say, you will not be hearing from me. And until you can adjust your attitude and be positive, I love you, but we have nothing to talk about. And I've been doing this ever since. How many years is that? So the minute she starts in with negative, I shut her down. I go, Mom, gotta go. I said, I don't want to hear the negative. This is why your life is the way it is. And if you're going to bring me down, I'm telling you, I'm not going to have it. And I'm going to tell you. And I just did this recently with her. She started projecting all her negative stuff onto me. And I said, Mom, you will not be hearing from me until I have evidence to prove to you. And so, I don't know, 3 months went by. I didn't call her. Didn't talk to her. And so there it was. What I'm saying is, I'm willing to tell people like it is without making her wrong, just telling her how I'm going to function. And then I don't, whatever happens, happens. And I have done all the work with her. Like people say, Karen, she's your mother. What if she dies? No, I've already done that. I've already told her how much I love her. I already told her what she's done for me. I already thanked her for all of that. We're complete. What I'm saying, Suzanne, does that give you a good example? I don't tolerate people bringing me down and projecting all their gross insecurities onto me in the form of negativity. And
excellent.
So, just because you're my family doesn't mean I'm going to spend time with you. As a matter of fact, I created my family. I only spend time with those people that are in alignment with where I'm going, what I believe in my highest good and calling.
Yeah, so, that's another big hurdle for so many people. So I love that you address that.
Yeah. And it's all on, look, you have to be your friend yourself. You got to be your greatest own inner ally. And the thing is, you got to love yourself even if 8 billion people hate your guts. And by the way, if they do, you're on to something. And I only have 2 words.
I love that. Oh my goodness. How to turn that around. That was good.
And one of the best, this is the one person that I'd never liked that I really respect now. I have 2 words for that example. Kim Kardashian. She was the most hated celebrity on the planet, and yet look at the power she has. So I'm not going to put her down. I'm waiting to meet her. I am truly inspired by someone like her. But hate works. Love works and hate works. But if you ride in the middle on the fence line, you're not going to be seen. You're not going to get what you want. You're not going to make a dent. I'm not saying I don't like the hate route. But what I'm saying is you can't care if anyone hates you. Because they're really just hating themselves and projecting it onto you. But if you allow people to affect you in such a way that it shuts your life down, then that's your problem. Do you understand?
And that's on you.
Yeah, It all falls on you. Again, I don't want to hear about it.
Can I ask a question that was touched on, but I'd love to hear a little bit more because I also think this is something that I probably struggle with. You just said you have to friend yourself and love yourself. Can I ask for what does loving myself look like?
Okay. So loving ourselves from within means that every negative belief we have about ourselves, we have to understand where that comes from and why you're hanging on to it. Because it's a lie, it's a perception. And it came early on in childhood. So it's one thing I can tell you, love yourself, right?
Yes.
And that sounds great. But no matter how many, it's like telling the obesity community in America to lose weight. Yeah, that's not going to happen. You get this? So when we say what it looks like is, again, understanding first why you don't like yourself, why you don't have self-esteem, why you don't have self-confidence. That's what I'm going to tell you. That's how you learn to love yourself, is understand first why you don't like yourself.
Okay.
And so again, not this podcast, Suzanne. So, right, this is in series.
Yes.
Okay, I know, because you want to have all the answers right now. You're not going to get them.
Okay.
Today. So I'm going to say because I'm doing this in parts, so I'm not going anywhere. I'm just going to complete this episode, and then we got to do the next episode, okay, Suzanne? And then we're going on because we got to recap the manifestation principles.
Yes.
Okay? All right, beautiful. So this is part 2, the podcast, my podcast with KarenLoveLee, The Power of Self-Evolution. And this is part 2 of the Law of Magnetism, how to be a powerful, happy, fun, free dream magnet. Okay? And that's what this is about. So stay tuned on to our next episode.
Thank you, Karen.
Thank you, Suzanne. I love your energy, and I'm so happy that you're here with me to listen, to be open, and to be coached around this, mentored around this, advised around this, because that's how you do it.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.